Hello. I had a statement to say you were banned on Twitter or whatever because you dead named somebody. I just wanted to say that two wrongs does not make a right. It's not right that you were deplatformed. I don't think anybody should be deplatformed for saying anything. I fully believe in freedom of speech. But I mean, I wasn't so happy with you. You seem kind of proud about, not proud, but it just seemed wrong to you that you were dead naming somebody. I get it. You know, if it was a mistake, that's fine.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't? Okay. Well, okay, then you're proud of it. That does not make it right. I think as generations go on, we become more accepting to things. And I think that even if you don't like somebody, it's not a good idea to normalize dead naming.
Yeah, so can you explain to our audience what is dead naming? You probably know it better than I do.
Is when somebody transitions and they choose a new name conforming to their gender. So if their name was Lisa before and they changed it to Jack, if you call them Lisa before that, or Lisa after they transitioned, that is dead naming.
What's wrong with that?
I think it's very wrong because I have a lot of trans friends, and if they were dead named, it would be, shattering to them because it's something that is so personal to them. What?
Shattering?
Yes. It's who they are now. People don't transition just for the hell of it, you know? It's a very personal thing to them. They don't do it to appeal to the other gender or whatnot.
Yeah, but let's think about it. Isn't it part of their biography? Can you really erase history and act as if that wasn't your name for a while? For example, it was another name than Rachel Levine.
Well, why do names matter so much? It's what you want to be called. It's just a title for you.
But it's part of your biography, right? It's a fact that a man who now thinks he's a woman had a family, got married, and then magically decided to no longer be a man. I was talking facts, so your problem would be with telling of a biography?
Well, it's not as deep as you think it is. It's just somebody, it's them now. And it's just being respectful.
Oh, okay, but it's being respectful by not being able to act as if they were something that they weren't. Isn't their whole identity in being no longer what they were? So it shouldn't shatter them. It should be empower them.
No.
So then why do they call themselves trans if it's not their whole identity?
Well, people don't go out saying, guess what? I'm trans.
Yeah, they do.
They just kind of exist. That's Twitter. That's Twitter. I can guarantee you.
And TikTok and most campuses and the trans groups and the trans flag and the trans parade and the trans music and the trans stuff. People say they're trans all the time. If the change is not part of their identity, then why do they call themselves trans?
Well, it's just a title. Everybody, our society is more, we want titles for just about everything.
I agree. So I don't accept the title, and I should have a right not to accept it.
Well, everybody has a right to be respected. They haven't done any wrong to you.
No, you don't have a right to be respected. You have a right to speak. You have to earn respect in a decent society.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to fully understand what you mean,
Yeah, so for example, I don't respect the Unabomber.
Okay.
That's an extreme example.
Okay.
I don't respect people that perform abortions.
Okay.
I don't respect people that medically mutilate children.
Okay.
And I don't respect someone that is taking Lupron and says they're a man all of a sudden and demands I comply. That's not the way the world works. Respect must be earned.
Yeah, sure.
I think respect is just it's a base thing. It's not like I'm going to go into this room and say, I disrespect every single one of you because you don't believe what I believe or you're not presenting how I want.
Well, okay, so what about my respect? Why was I kicked off Twitter? You said it's wrong, but you can all of a sudden see where your viewpoint quickly becomes, and we have to shut somebody up because you deserve respect.
Honest to God, I'm not trying to I'm kind of losing my thoughts a little bit, but I just want to put out there that I think it's just basic human respect. It's not that deep. People just, if they feel one way and they truly believe it, it's not just, oh shit, I feel like being a boy now. It's not just a on the whim decision. It's something that's held inside them.
Right. Well, hold on a second. But I just want to, I think you're being sincere in this regard, but why? So let's just take gender affirming care or whatever you might call it, right?
Yes.
So affirming someone's mental delusion where they think they're a man or a woman, why is that the appropriate line of treatment? For example, do we give liposuction to people that are anorexic?
Well, no, I mean, I think...
No, because we know better. We know it's going to harm them, and we love that person.
No,
so that's not medicine. That would be torture.
Yeah, and not everybody who decides to transition decides to change their genitalia or go through something completely irreversible, right?
That's true. Some do, though. Tens of thousands.
I have conflicted opinions on gender-affirming surgery because it's irreversible, and if it's a decision made too young of an age, then it's not right to do it on children. No,
that's fair. I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
I really mean that, and you should be encouraged. I wish more people were sane enough to say that. Mm-hmm. But let me kind of complete the point. A biography should not be eliminated because someone demands respect. For example, I can say that Muhammad Ali used to be called Cassius Clay. It's part of his life. And then he found Islam, and he decided to be called something else. And all of a sudden you get this rancor and this uproar that somehow I'm being hateful and no longer worthy of a Twitter platform because I said a fact. That Levine had a name and a family and was a man and then claims he's a woman. If all of a sudden history and facts can be erased, we are dangerously approaching a 1984 dystopian world control scenario that I don't think any of us should entertain. Final thoughts?
Okay, to wrap it up, my point was basically just, I think it's better to normalize or not normalize, but like not put out that it's okay to do these types of things. I think it's just general human respect. I think we just all need to become more accepting, and we don't really need to,
Got it. And so my opinion is 180. We have clarity, not agreement. I'm not going to accept mental delusions with force.
Hi, Mr. Kirk. I'm Aaron, and I'm a student here. I want to start off by saying I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to discuss these issues with you, and want to say that though our beliefs differ greatly, I still think it's awesome to be able to converse with you respectfully. For anyone recording me, please put me in an SJW cringe compilation. That's part of my childhood.
Oh, okay, good. I think we can arrange that.
But here's what I want to ask you about. Trans youth experience extremely high suicide rates, and trans youth who transition, receive hormone therapy or surgery have significantly decreased rates of suicide, according to studies by Turbin et al. And Almazan Karoglian et al. In fact, this effect becomes stronger the earlier they receive the surgery or hormone therapy, according to those same studies. Additionally, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders suggests treating gender dysphoria with transition, hormone therapy, or surgery. So I guess just from a purely practical standpoint, regardless of political belief or what you think about trans people, wouldn't it be a good thing to allow access to these surgeries, just sort of empirically?
Sure. Let me first ask you a question. Why was there not a trans suicide issue in the 90s?
Are you sure that there wasn't? It's very possible that the publicization and destigmatization of transgenderism now is making it so that people who might have committed suicide before. Yes.
So the one thing we can agree on is people need help, right? I think the best way to help somebody that's suffering under a delusion is cognitive-based therapy and non-chemical, non-pharmacological interventions. You would probably agree. To be able to have counseling therapy. For example, if a girl's 11 years old and she's experiencing puberty or her father's not around and she might think she's a boy, wouldn't it be more loving to say, hey, let's go through some therapy to actually get you back into alignment with your biological reality, not put you on Lupron or chemical castration or irreversible surgical methods? That would probably be rational, right?
Let's continue.
I think that if it were possible to reduce these feelings by, cognitive behavioral therapy and things like that, I would definitely think that would be great. But I guess research also shows that rejecting gender identity in youth typically also increases suicide rate.
So let me ask you another question. Do you think that people that are suffering under the mental delusion of transgenderism might have other underlying mental health issues?
Yeah, certainly.
So it's not fair necessarily to connect transgenderism with suicide. It might be somebody that's suffering under gender dysphoria and also a heavy dose of depression, schizophrenia, anxiety, bipolar disorder, right?
Yeah, I guess, but just empirically, allowing access to trans or gender affirming surgery does reduce that suicide
Not
rate.
necessarily. So after 6 years, there's a big thing called transition regret. We know 35,000 young people that are now vocally saying they regret medically mutilating themselves. And there is no reverse switch on that. So again, wouldn't it be rational to do what is reversible, which is just cognitive behavioral therapy, not what is irreversible to a 12-year-old that might be going through a temporary puberty-driven crisis? Wouldn't that be a more loving, rational way of going about it? Because what we have now is a boom industry of quote-unquote gender-affirming care clinics and pediatric gender clinics for 12, 13, and 14-year-olds, some of which, by the way, do not require parental consent, of a 13-year-old that might make a mistake. And I think you would agree, you made mistakes when you were 13 years old, right?
Of course, of course.
Yeah, so shouldn't we have a healthcare system and laws that reflect trying to protect the innocence of a 13-year-old, not trying to incentivize their mistakes where they can't reverse that decision later in life?
Yeah, I definitely agree that there are certainly people who do regret these surgeries, and I don't think that's something we should minimize. But at the same time, there are also like hundreds of thousands of people who don't regret these surgeries, and I guess overall.
So then maybe they should wait till they're 18. I think that's the whole crux of this, right? So you got 12, 13, 14, 15, and then I would have a separate moral question on that, right? Even when they're 18, but we're focusing on the pediatric element, right? Which I think is important. And let me just kind of reemphasize this, which I think is the question. Let me actually ask you this. Is there an age that's too young in your opinion? If a 6-year-old says, I think I'm a boy, do you think it might be too young to do surgery on them?
You know, I think it's important for me to admit that I don't really know, but I do think
I appreciate the honesty. But you would probably say 6-year-old, ooh, too much, right?
I honestly wouldn't know. I wouldn't say one or the other, but I would say that, I guess, over 18, how do we say?
Okay, so let's close every pediatric gender clinic in America and stop the chemical castration of our youth, which is exactly where we were 10 years ago. I think we found a lot of agreement, my friend.
Oh, sorry?
I think we found agreement.
I don't really know either way on that one, but I guess over 18.
The crux of the debate in America today is focused on children. Teenagers make mistakes. Teenagers go through identity crises. Teenagers are susceptible to social contagions. Teenagers are susceptible to peer pressure or for other influences. And the laws and the culture should reflect, let's say, an atmosphere that respects the innocence of the child and says once you are of adulthood, you have certain agency and ability. I might disagree with that, but I don't want to live in a country where an 11-year-old might be misled by a gender psychiatrist, has their breast chopped off, and wants to have that reversed in 8 years. I don't think that is loving. I think that's cruel.
I guess I still raise the issue of, in total, the number of people who are committing suicide would probably be reduced if we allowed these surgeries.
Not necessarily. So in the short term, yes. When you administer testosterone replacement therapy, you get a boost in self-esteem. You get a temporary boost in mental clarity, but that actually tapers after about 5 or 6 years, which is why you see the transitioner community increasing. I can see you're coming after this from a good place, but I want you to think about this in the days and the weeks, and all of you to think, how young is too young? I think that if you are in the teenage age, 12, 13, 14, and we're trying to say that we are so advanced, we're gonna prescribe Lupron, which was called too inhumane for rapists in prison, to young boys that effectively chemically castrate themselves. I think it is a rational moral argument to say, let's make sure we don't do something irreversible to somebody that might be preyed upon. I think that's rather fair and reasonable. Unfortunately, that's considered radical enough where you have Antifa show up.
That's a very interesting one, listening to Charlie debating this group of college students still on this radical transgenderism. And of course, when we look at, in a sense, some of these students, just like, for instance, the first lady that was talking about her friends, of course, that need to be respected, and then therefore, whatever they have decided to choose for themselves, people should respect it. it, you understand, and call them for what they see they are. But the truth about it is, they are delusional. We cannot call you what, you understand, that you are not. If, you understand, we see that, you understand, you are clearly, you understand, a black man, and you said that you are a white person, then something must be wrong with you. You understand? And then that is the reason why we have to correct you and make you understand what we think that you are. Because sometimes people might be suffering. So look at this scenario that she was talking about, someone being a male and then end up saying that they are female. And then this is the situation whereby if you call them whatever they used to be called, then it's called death naming. So how are we going to tell the person biography? We have to know that Mr. A used to be this before it turns to B. Then from there, we know where the person, you understand, is coming from. But for instance, I think that most of us are familiar with flower. For instance, of course, flowers have leaf, they have stem, they have root. But irrespective of whatever, you understand, you pluck out and then you try to like kind of check it, right? Let's say probably I take it to the lab and all those things, right? Whether I pluck the leaf or I pluck the stem or is the root, at the end of the day, it still gives me what? The same thing. For instance, we could talk about, you know, hibiscus flower. Irrespective of whatever, you know, I decide to pluck, whether it's the petal, whether it's the sepal, whether it's the stem, or whatever, you know, side of it, you know, I decide, you know, to pluck, at the end of the day, what is still what? Hibiscus flower. This is how DNA is. So when you talk about, you know, chromosome, and now you are talking about you want to go to this surgery in order for you to change your gender to be whatever you want to be. So now in this very context, right, chromosome, which made up of the DNA that differentiates you and me. So in this situation that I use, you know, of the flower, so when you says that you are going for the surgery, what exactly are you changing? And even if you decide to change, understand, your sex organ, does it really change who you are? It does not change who you are. That's the reason why when you are doing DNA test, right, you don't necessarily have to use the hair. Sometimes you can use the saliva. You can use anything, whether it's the bone or even it's the fingernails or whatever you use. It still means the same thing. Why do you think, you understand, it's like that? Because God have already created us and make us, you understand, unique. So if you decide to feel like because you change or decide you wear different costume and then you want people to refer to you as a woman, you are just wasting your time. And that is the reason why Charlie is saying that what some of them are delusional. And then that is why we cannot address people, you understand, for what they see they are. Of course, we have to check and see if they are truly what they are before we can be able to like see that what, okay, yes, truly this person is what they see they are. But if you just feel that because of you go on a surgery and then it just feels like on that note, of course, that you are now a male or you are now a female, then it means that you are now going against God's plan. And that God's plan is what he has already created us both male and female. And that is the reason why, whether you like it or not, if you like, go and do the surgery, but it does not still change your DNA. You understand? It does not change it because the DNA is going to tell us whether you are a man or a woman. And that's why the chromosomes, if you are a man, it shows you what XY. And if you are a female, it's what XX. It's as simple as that, because of why God decided what to create us in that very manner. And then this question that this very second young man was asking about, in order for us to reduce the rate of people, you understand, committing suicide. So why not, you understand, we should allow people to go into this hormone therapy in order for them to have the surgery. So if you look at this now, should it be just because we want to prevent people from, you understand, committing suicide, then we should say they are what they are not? No, we don't have to do that. And as a matter of fact, even if they commit the suicide, at least that helps to reduce even the numbers. And that's why biology have a way of taking care of some of these things. So if you are born a man and you decide that what you want to be a woman, that is on you. If you decide to commit suicide, then you are going to meet your maker. And that is why a day of accountability is coming, that you are going to face your maker, and then you can go to explain to him what you decide to use your body for. You understand? Because God have already made us to understand, even in book of Leviticus chapter 20 verse 18, we could look at verse 18, 22 and all that. He have already made us to understand that we shall not lie with male as with a woman, and vice versa also for the women. We could also look at the book of Romans chapter 1 verse 26. Of course, so many references that the Bible have already show us the way, and the reasons why you see some of us uses the Bible as a reference point is because of what we are Christians, and then the founding fathers of America were founded in a sense based on Christians' value, and that is the reason why we use it as a point of reference. Of course, I know that a lot of you have thought an opinion concerning this, and others will even disagree with me, but of course I want to see it at the comment section, and may God bless you as you do so. So this is the end of my video. If you like my reaction, should like, share and subscribe, and if you have any video you want me to react to, don't forget to drop it at the comment section and I'm going to check it out. So you remain blessed, and I see you in my next video. Goodbye.